This meeting is being recorded.
Hello?
Who's that? Is that Sean? Hello?
I heard the same thing.
I think it's Sean.
Maybe. Tells me I'm supposed to be at a meeting.
Hey, Patrick?
Who's that? Ready? Guys ready?
Hello?
Okay, let's call to order tonight's Town Lloyd Board meeting, our regular meeting for January 18th. And we'll open with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Councilman Mazzetti, you lead us tonight?
Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we got a busy agenda tonight. I'm going to move a couple things around, specifically since we got a big crew here, and I know some of them might be on duty. I don't want to hold them up through the whole other set of presentations. So I'm going to ask Jim Janso to introduce these people as we go to the resolutions. So we're going to jump straight to Resolution D. And it's a resolution to promote Officer Michael Roberto to Sergeant full-time as of 1/18/2023 at the recommendation of Police Chief James Janso at a salary of $85,818 per year.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Could you introduce Mike?
This is Mike Roberto. He's our detective and now our sergeant. He's a hometown boy, not a boy, but
Hometown man.
he's going to bring an asset to our department as well as all the other hires tonight.
Right.
Well, congratulations.
And Michael, congratulations. Really appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move to Resolution E. And it's a resolution to promote Officer Christopher Miller to Sergeant full-time as of 1/18/23 at the recommendation of Police Chief James Janso at a salary of $85,818 per year.
Motion. That's,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Motion carried, and you can introduce Chris also.
Chris Miller, he's another hometown boy. Been with us many years, as Mike has, and he's going to bring another asset to our department.
Yep.
To have him keep-
Congratulations, Chris. Okay, Resolution F is the resolution to hire Christopher Rosa as a part-time police officer as of 1/18/2023 at the recommendation of Police Chief James Janso at a salary of $21.20 per hour.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. This is Mr. Rosa?
He's retired from Town of Poughkeepsie Police.
Okay.
20 years there. He was with us back in 2001, so he's come back part-time with us. He brings a lot of experience with him, and he's a town resident also.
Great,
Welcome
great,
back.
great. Welcome back. And Resolution G is to hire Tyler Porter as dispatcher part-time as of 1/18/2023 at the recommendation of Police Chief James Janso at a salary of $19.20 per hour.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Tyler is going to break his teeth on our police department. Hopefully we keep him around for many, many years.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome.
Congratulations, Tyler. Welcome aboard. And the last one for the chief is to accept the resignation of full-time officer Kevin Doyle as of 1/15/2023 at the recommendation of Chief James Ansel.
Motion.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
I appreciate all of you, the newcomers and old people who've been around, and really congratulations on everything you guys done to achieve the rank you have. So we appreciate it as a town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks again, guys.
And Chief, thank you for recruiting some new people and getting some people promoted.
Good luck. Congratulations. Good luck in the team. Good to see a hometown boy.
Okay, we're going to go back to cover the agenda now in the order it's on there. And can I get a motion to open the public hearing for the PRD application for the Villages in Hudson Valley?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public hearing's open, and I believe John First from the Villages is here to take us through a brief presentation.
Yeah, yes, I'll try to keep it brief, but I am an attorney, so
I know.
can't help that.
We won't hold it against you, John.
Again, my name is John First. I'm an attorney at Catania Mann and Ryder. I represent the applicant and developer.
We'll get all the background noise.
Yep. Presentation? So again, my name is John First. I'm the attorney for the applicant, the Villages in the Hudson Valley. With me here tonight is also Kelly Leibolt. And then on the screen, we have the traffic engineer, Ken Worsted, as well as the site civil engineer, Brittany Shackley. So I'm going to give a brief overview. I think many people are familiar, but we are here seeking a PRRD, which is a Planned Residential Retirement Development Designation for an approximately 57-acre parcel by Mayor Drive and Route 9W. I think everyone's probably pretty much familiar with the site. We're looking to construct a life plan community. There's an assisted living facility with an adult daycare as part of the proposal, in addition to independent one-story cottages. This will allow seniors to age in place. The property is currently zoned R1. In the R1 zone, ALFs with a daycare are permitted via special use permit and site plan approval, which I'll get to that in a second. In addition, single-family homes are permitted. However, the R1 regulations do not accommodate senior housing and the healthcare center-related development. This is exactly what your PRD zone does. So we would like to apply for that designation for our property. Just a little bit of history about the property itself, and I'm going to talk a little bit about, the status of the current construction. So, yep, perfect. So on that second slide, so the property's been under seeker review a couple of times. There was a negative declaration issued in April of 2021, and that negative declaration was with respect to the assisted living facility and a concept plan for the PRRD. Thereafter, the assisted living facility was given approvals in September of 2021. Those approvals were then finalized with a final site plan for the ALF was approved, I think it was in the summer of 2022. So there has been work previously done at the site. And in fact, there's going to be some more work in the next week or so at the site. The contractor's looking to come back to the site in connection with the ALF, which is already approved, and he's going to install the utilities within the New York State right-of-way, which have been approved. And I think there's also a pre-construction meeting that's either just happened or going to happen. And these utilities in connection with the ALF regarding sewer, water, and drainage. And again, the ALF has already been approved by the planning board. In addition to the utilities, the contractor is going to recommence the work on Healthcare Center Lane within the confines of the ALF property, portion of the property. This will take several months. It's favorable conditions right now, so the contractor is going to be able to do some additional work. In addition to the Healthcare Center Lane work, there's also going to be some retaining walls to support Healthcare Center Lane. This is all pursuant to the approved site plans on the ALF. So that's just to give everybody a little update on where we're at with the assisted living facility. So just moving on to the slide and focusing on the PRRD, which again includes the ALF as well as the cottages. So the ALF in 2021, it was approved with 120 beds. You should note, though, the seeker review for the ALF did contemplate 135 beds. So we're at a lower threshold with respect to the beds than when the original SECRA. Fast forward to 2022, we've got 119 beds. Project is modified slightly over the last year. The PRRD, so when the original conceptual SECRA review, we were proposing 178 units at that time. Since then, and upon recommendation, I believe it was the town board or maybe the committee for the PRRD had recommended the affordable housing units. So according to your code, the affordable housing, you get a density bonus. For every affordable housing unit you provide, you get an additional market rate unit. So that explains the increase in the number of cottages between the original SECRA review back in 2021 and the PRD application right now. So this is kind of a layout of the plan that everyone can see. We'll get a little bit detailed later on if you have any questions. This is the construction phasing plan. If you have any questions, Kelly is the person to speak to because she's coordinating all the engineers and the contractors. But essentially, we're going to work our way towards the back end of the property in phases. It looks like there's five phases of construction. It should be noted that the emergency access road through the self-storage facility, that's associated with phase 4, but we will have the emergency access in phase 1 through Apple Lane. Any other questions, I would refer to Kelly. On the next slide, we have the renderings, which I believe folks have probably seen these before. There's going to be different types of styles, including a duplex. There will be some duplexes offered with respect to the cottages. The cottages will be anywhere from 1,000 to 1,400 square feet. They're going to be one story. They're going to be 1, 2 bedrooms, or maybe one bedroom with an office. Not very large. Again, they're here to accommodate seniors, not your typical family with children. All right, next slide. So some of the things that we focused on, especially with the planning board SECRA review. And as you know, the planning board issued its negative declaration under SECRA on December 1st for this proposed PRRD. So a lot of things, we redid the visual analysis. We looked at, we redid some visual simulations based upon some recommendations. The simulations, we did some more grading to reduce the visual impacts. We removed some of the proposed residential units that were previously located on steep slopes. This also improved the visual impacts. And we also removed stormwater structures that were previously on steep slopes. If you take it to the next slide, we've kind of highlighted the areas where back in 2021, we had proposed certain cottages or stormwater facilities on steep slopes. We are no longer doing that in all these areas that are shaded. So if you take, yeah, that's it. That's the slide. Thank you. So that was one of the improvements or changes since 2021. Another major issue, the third major issue is a soil mitigation plan. So next slide, thanks. So I know a lot of the planning board members had some concerns. Everybody knows this used to be an agricultural field. There's, there were some pesticides that were typically utilized associated with the farming. We've prepared a soil mitigation plan by our environmental consultants. It's been reviewed by the town's consultants. There's been a lot of questions, a lot of meetings and discussions about it through some of the planning board members. It's been vetted, it's been approved as part of the secret documents. And again, Kelly could probably answer specific questions on that because she's been working closely with PVE on that. But essentially, everything's approved and we're ready to go with that.
And is that part of what you'll start when you start the right-of-way work on the sewer or utilities?
Not yet. So the right-of-way work is just the utilities, and Healthcare Center Lane is just to get the road up to the PRRD, but we are ready to commence the soil mitigation work.
Because looking at it, to me, I'd like to see the site get clean as early as possible. Okay, so I don't know, when we start to move forward with this, the earlier we can do the soil mitigation from a town board perspective, I think it would help. So we may ask you to do all the soil mitigation at one time.
That would be great. I mean, we're poised, we could start that.
Okay.
Certainly, as you know, in winter,
Okay.
it's more ideal conditions for us to be able to complete that work, but we can accommodate.
Okay, thank you.
So another major issue or concern throughout the whole planning board's review was traffic. Ken Worsted is on the line here if you have any questions with respect to traffic, but essentially, due to all the various reiterations of the project, now if you remember I think 3 or 4 years ago when the project was first proposed, I think we were looking at 220 units, a much bigger ALF. So over time, things have whittled down, and one of the points here on the slide is that, the traffic studies, what was proposed back in 2021 during the seeker review with the 135 beds is about 20% less than what we're proposing now. So even though we have more cottages, there's less beds and there's less urgent care space. So in essence, the traffic is 20% less than what was studied in 2021. Kelly and Ken have been working with the New York State DOT because in addition to the permits for work in the right-of-way, obviously there's the traffic light that needs to be installed, and that is pretty much ready to be issued. And DOT has looked at the final designs. If you have any questions, Ken Worsted is on the call for that. Finally, I'd like to kind of highlight some of the amenities and the recreational areas that are proposed with this. Again, this is kind of proposing this as a self-contained community for the most part. So we've got indoor-outdoor courts, there's a big clubhouse, there's sidewalks, walking paths, and some of the amenities for the ALF, wellness program, meals, medical services, laundry services, home cleaning services, shuttle buses, car services, 24-hour security, and as far as with the cottages and the outdoor amenities and recreational amenities, indoor bocce ball courts, horseshoe pits, pickleball courts, and again, all the walking sidewalks. And there's also going to be sidewalks that are going to link this property to the intersection so that people can get over to the shopping plaza, and also going up 9W towards the bridge. So this community is going to be linked with the rest of the town. And finally, on the last page, there's some additional amenities with the clubhouse, typical card room, ceramics, exercise room. There'll be a concierge medical services available to the residents as well. It's your typical senior community as far as amenities. So that's really all I have as far as the presentation. If you have any questions, I've got the experts here to answer them.
I have a question on the traffic. as far as the exiting off of Mayor Drive, is there a proposal to put in a turn-off lane? To put in a third lane, because there'll be 2 lanes there. Are you guys gonna provide another lane?
No, it would be a single lane coming down Mayor Drive, coming out of the neighborhood onto Route 9W. If you're on Route 9 going northbound, right now there's a hatched median that people are likely using to turn left into Mayor Drive. That would be striped. The road would be widened to accommodate a full width lane there, and that would be a third lane, kind of northbound, to be able to turn left into Mayor Drive.
So can I just piggyback into you're telling me that all the cottages are going to exit and enter from Mayor or from that area?
Correct.
Okay. And what is the congestion projections with that? You have a large number of people now. That's not a very big road. It's just a single.
There was an extensive traffic study that was done with the planning board as part of the seeker review of this process, and so there were numerous iterations that were changed and amendments. Those traffic studies were also amended in response to comments that we had received from DOT with respect to the design and the offsite improvements, including the traffic signal and the sidewalks that are being proposed. So the resulting traffic study, and certainly Ken, I can let you address this, but there's an overall improvement in that intersection. We see a significant amount of, as you had indicated, there's people that are making this illegal left turn. We're going to try to correct some of the turning movements that you have there right now, and then to help improve some of that traffic influx.
Another question is, when traffic comes out of Argent Drive, that would be the shopping center and Bridgeview, there'd be 2 lanes that are gonna go south, is a left turn onto there. So from that light to Mayor Drive light, as far as the stacking of vehicles, it appears to me that maybe only 8 to 10 vehicles could be stacked in those 2 lanes. And here you have Argent Drive with maybe 30 cars that could be coming out at a certain time on a holiday season, or, how would they be able to stack those cars into those 2 lanes without, you follow?
And are you able to address that?
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear Kelly, but I can jump in there. Yeah, you're approximately right. There's probably 8 to 10 cars that you can stack in between the 2 intersections. But the traffic demand coming out of Mayor Drive is much less than that coming out of Argent. So the green time that you need to come out of Mayor Drive is that much shorter than Argent Drive. So the plan is to have the signals, even though there's 2 kind of traffic lights, there's one at Argent and one at Mayor, they're really functioning as a single traffic light. So when there's no traffic coming out of Mayor Drive, you should be able to turn left out of Argent and kind of roll up to Mayor Drive and get the green and then continue through. You won't necessarily have to turn left and then come to a stop and sit there and wait while traffic backs up behind you, onto Argent Drive, because Mayor Drive is going to be that much shorter. There's maybe 1 or 2 cars that would come out of there over, the cycle of that intersection. So it's going to turn over. Mayor Drive is going to be much shorter than the Argent Drive intersection.
Yeah, the Argent Drive, I would be more concerned, because I think that's where my opinion would be the stacking problem would be. People would try to beat the light, and then they clog up the intersection of Argent and 9W to make the left-hand turn to go south.
But let me try and make sure I understand what Ken said. So what I think Ken said was the light on Route 9W at Mayor Drive will have a shorter red duration than the one at Argent, which says the only time, or it says it should, to me, it should alleviate stacking for the most part. Now, I'm sure you're always going to find a situation where stacking may occur at some time, but if DOT has set up the program right to set the lights up, they should not have an issue with stacking
Well,
very often.
DOT originally set up that highway system to go into Bridgeview, Argent Drive.
Yeah.
And we've had maybe 3 fatalities there over the years, besides many numerous accidents. So that's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, I understand the concern. I'm just saying, I think that the way that I've heard they're trying to mitigate it is with the timing of the
So
light.
Dave, that's a good point. So I get the timing of the lights, but how is that timing going to affect the other lights? So are they all going to be timed together? So if you're doing the speed limit, you get to a green light every time, because that's the way it really should be. You know, so when one light turns green, when I get to the next light, it should be green. So this way it's not, I'm stopping. I got to stop again, especially if this light's going to be timed. And then how is that timed during rush hour? And how is it timed differently during non-peak times? I think that needs to be considered.
Yes, and that's part of the DOT review. That's part of the mitigation plan that's, being implemented. The bells and whistles, the things that you're really going to see out there are going to be the lane widening.
So could you supply us with that information? When it's
Yes, it's all part of the record.
Well, do you have, so you have it now then, or you don't have it?
I mean, I have images up on my screen.
But you don't have
It's
it.
been submitted with the PRD application.
So when you get the exact times of what they're going to look like and how they're synchronized, you'll be able to explain that better when it happens.
Well,
Certainly, yeah. I mean, DOT ultimately controls the timing of all the lights, through there. We're making suggestions based on the analysis that we're doing. We're providing them with plans of, where these traffic infrastructure items will be added. But the traffic infrastructure is what you're really going to see out there. The timing of the lights is going to be much more subtle. It might feel different if you're the first car in that line and from the car that's the last car in the line, It's going to depend on which direction you're coming from. You might find better progression if you're north or southbound on 9W than if you're turning, left out of Argent Drive. So the signals can be timed for, the majority of the patterns, but there's always people who are coming from a different direction that is, someone's going to hit the red light. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Not everyone is going to make it through perfectly, all the lights through it.
Mike, you have any other questions?
No.
One other concern, when it comes out on Vineyard, what that,
Beg your pardon?
when the road comes out on Vineyard, what's the,
Tilson Avenue?
no, the other, Chapel Hill. So does this affect Chapel at all? Because that rush hour, right now without it, a couple times I've been down that way, and during peak rush hour, you wait, the lengths are almost to the old cooler to get to that stop sign. So if now this development's all connected and people are trying to avoid this intersection because it's backed up, what's the impact it's going to do on Chapel? Has that been looked at all?
It's less, there's less of an impact from this project. I think the biggest change that you're going to see is, right now, if you live in that neighborhood, you can come out Mayor Drive, and get to 9W. It's a little more challenging because there is no traffic light there now. So you may have people who are going out the south end that are getting out to Chapel Hill because then they can make a left turn, at a traffic light. So that neighborhood may start to divide a little bit, and you may feel a little bit less pressure down at Chapel because with a light at the north end, and if you're going to Poughkeepsie or you're going to New Paltz, you're going north, you may find that people in the neighborhood start to use this intersection a little bit more. So eventually it's going to find a balance. You might live closer to the south end, and you might find that it's more convenient to get home by going to Chapel Hill and going to your house in that direction. But at 7 o'clock in the morning when you're trying to turn left out, that it's easier to go up to Mayor Drive, and turn out there. So,
And the reason I bring that up is because if we're only making a right out of Mayor, correct? It's only going to be a right-hand turn?
no, Mayor Drive will be a left out.
So you're going to go, which one?
Left in, right out.
Today, it's only a right-hand turn. It should only be a
So
right-hand turn.
once you've corrected with the light, you're going to be able to go right and left?
Correct.
So, okay.
Correct.
Because that was a concern because
Which should make it safer.
The majority of shopping, and I know we have great stores here, but the majority of shopping is Poughkeepsie, which would be a left, and all of our hospitals are to the left. The phases, how long is it going to be to complete all phases?
They're really market-driven, but the first two phases,
Can we give her a microphone because the people that are watching on television can't hear?
sorry, I'm Kelly Leibold
be
with
sorry.
KRC Planning. The phases are certainly market-driven, but it's expected that the first two phases will consume about a year to 18 months. So we're hoping to have units under construction the end of 2023, 2022.
Do you think they'll all be done by 2023, or?
No, the first two phases. We're really hoping to have the first two phases, units on the ground in 2023, so that we can have phase one and phase two completed in that year.
So, John, one of the phases looks like it goes over, when you said that the slide looked like it went over to the other side of the mountain. Is that correct, or it does not go over to the other side?
If you can just roll back to that phasing plan.
What do you mean by other side of the mountain?
So the project, so see that,
Well, we have the phasing plan is colored.
yeah, if you go to the,
Keeps going now. Yep.
Almost.
Where'd it go?
Nope, it's there. Keep going. Next one. There you go.
yeah, that green and purple phase, is that go to the, because that's a mountain, so it's one side comes down on the vineyard and the other side is up on,
Yeah, there's a portion of it in phase three, which is green, that comes down over the hill. It's a small portion, and then the property, of course, extends further down the hill. And then the purple is phase five. That's the last phase. There's a portion of it that's on the side of the hill, but we've eliminated some houses and stormwater structures there. But yes, those two phases are,
yeah, well, it'd be, it doesn't come out, it would be on the other the side of, the mountain side of Vineyard.
way down, further in the back. Yep.
And have we gotten any input from Scenic Hudson on the views, how that may impact it on the
Sure.
other side of the
Well,
mountain?
so this project has gone through a full seeker review. So all of the environmental issues relative to water, sewer, storm, visual, everything related to the wetlands, habitat assessment have all been reviewed twice by the planning board. So initially, this project was, the PRRD project was approved as a concept plan when the ALF was, went through the seeker process with the planning board. And then just this past year, the planning board conducted a full seeker review of the final development plan, which is what you see in front of you. And out of that, there was changes, we sometimes call them mitigation, but modifications to the plan based on comments that were received by a variety of different agencies. There were visual analyses that were completed, renderings that were completed, and the direct answer to your question is Scenic Hudson did not get involved, but there were visual simulations that were done that we had in this presentation that indicate that although with any project, portions of it will be seen, this project is predominantly screened from the Route 9 or Route 9W, the overpass, and that's the main area that we looked at.
Yeah, because the reason I bring that up is the project in New Paltz that's similar to this, if you go on Hummel Road at night, it looks like a runway when it's lit up. And I'm seeing this go across, I'm wondering what the visual impact would be during the day and also at night. That's such a beautiful mountain terrain on both sides, it's untouched. I'd hate to see we lose that country feel and start looking like a city.
Well, again, I think what she said is during seeker and the site plan review,
But that's
visual impacts are part of that plan. So if I'm going to assume the planning board did their job and they did the visual impacts, and whoever wanted to come forward had a chance to come forward. And then if there was an issue, just like any seeker or any site plan review, they have to put an action in place to mitigate it. So I'm going to, assume the planning board did their job because they voted on it.
Right, and that resulted in the removal of some of the proposed cottages in areas of steep slopes. In addition, I'm assuming where the lighting is all going to be down tilted.
Yep, we did a full lighting analysis, so
sky
everything
compliant.
is dark sky compliant, yep, on all the lighting, so there's little sconces and so forth on each of the buildings, but everything is dark sky compliant. We've provided a full photometric plan for all of the lighting.
That phase 3, how much of the property acreage of that, does that actually occupy?
I don't have that information, so I can get that for you, but I don't have that tonight.
Right.
The
And
acreage
how
for
many,
each of the
and
phases.
and I'd like to know how many acres on the purple and the green actually occupy the other side of the mountain.
So
we-
you want to know how many acres the purple and the green occupies?
the vineyard side, because, and what is that going to look like if it's clear cut? And so they can put the houses on, because they're not going to leave mature trees. And, you know, I'm concerned on, if you can't see it and you can't notice the mountain terrain, then it is what it is. But if it looks like a big hole, or is that really what we want?
So when you say on the vineyard side, I just
The
want to make
purple
sure.
doesn't make vineyard.
There's the little bump out, okay, so it stops at staff. So there's and I'm only talking the part that goes over, not the,
So you're interested in the number of, the acres and the number of units that are on the downside of the
Correct.
peak of the slope?
correct.
Okay. There also is a significant amount of regrading that's being done here. We dropped this site 4 feet. So again, just to try to further mitigate the views of the site. So there is a significant reduction in the overall grades and kind of taking out that peak that you see at the top.
And I'd also like to know how many acres this development owns on the other side of the mountain, and if those acreages that are non-developed that we see, are they going to be labeled as forever green? So
Yes, they will.
There,
It's over
yeah.
by, there's a creek over there. And I believe the closest structure or road is several hundred feet from the creek. So you've got a big separation distance between the road back there as well as any developments. It should help screen the property. In addition, yes, there's going to be at least a third, according to the PRRD regulations, at least a third of the property has to be protected by conservation easements. And everything on what you're calling the back side of the mountain, most of this, everything over by the creek will be preserved.
And I think that's on the site plan map, if I remember looking
It
at
is.
it, when you
indicated.
distributed all the material.
Right, in
Yeah.
addition, there's a buffer, conservation
showed the buffer on there.
around by
And-
Apple Lane,
and the reason,
by Mayor Drive.
yeah, and the reason I'm asking is I know that house that's on the bottom of the picture, and I didn't realize it went that far down. That's why I'm asking. But that's okay. Going back to the traffic on 9W, the other phases that are going to have the lights onto 9W, the housing is not going to have any access to those exits or entrances on 9W?
I'm not sure what the question
Well,
is.
What
There's other phases of this project. There's just a nursing home, correct?
The ALF?
Yeah, so the homes, the cottages, will not have any access to the ALF entrances and exits, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
He's talking about right here.
Are you talking about direct access onto 9W?
Yes.
Okay, so on the bottom of the plan, there is a right-in, right-out for the ALF that was approved by New York State DOT. And then the balance of the traffic for the ALF come from Mayor Drive onto that access road that you see on the plan on the bottom left corner.
And when will they be usable? Will they be in operation, be able to be used before the project homes are being built, or they're not going to happen? Because it looks like it's in phase 1 and the other one is in,
So the ALF portion of so we refer to the PRRD as this entire project because once the PRRD designation is granted, it includes the ALF. But the ALF is fully approved by the planning board and is in theory under construction because we're starting to work on Healthcare Center Lane and much of the utilities. Again, every project is market driven, but it's our expectations to apply for building permits for this project in 2022. And so construction of that building will start this year. And the access drives, et cetera, will be operational as soon as the building's completed.
and is it planned that the ALF to be built before the cottages or the cottages before the ALF? What is the?
Right now, I can't give you a definitive answer. Right now, the plan is to complete Healthcare Center Lane, apply for a portion of the building permit for the ALF for the upper building, and then apply for the building permits for phase 1 and 2 of the PRRD.
And back to the crosswalk, where is that proposed to be? To cross over to Hannaford's into the
Ken, is the
rail?
crosswalk located at Mayor Drive, or is it a little bit further down over by the ingress-egress for the shopping center?
It's between Mayor Drive, essentially the north side of Mayor Drive and south of Argent Drive. So The ALF project is constructing, roughly 2,000 linear feet of sidewalk. And it would go from the ALF right in, right out, south along 9W. It would turn the corner up Mayor Drive and come partway up to where Healthcare Center Lane meets Mayor Drive. And then there's a sidewalk extension. So if you're in this neighborhood, you could walk down Mayor Drive, you'll pick up the sidewalk network, you'll come down to the traffic light, there will be a button crosswalk, you'll cross over to the mobile side of 9W, and then there's an additional sidewalk that gets constructed around mobile that will bring you up to Argent Drive, bring you down to the intersection of Hannaford and Argent Drive, where there's an existing sidewalk system.
Right, so who's going to be building the sidewalk that's not there at this time?
The project.
The
So this
developer.
but they don't own and they have permission from the other property owner to build the sidewalks?
We're working on that. We're working with the owners of Mobile.
The only other owner that is involved is the owner of Mobile. All of the other sidewalks are either in the right-of-way or on private property, or in the town right-of-way. But they're all public improvements.
So that one sidewalk that we talked about is kind of one component of it. And I know Kelly mentioned, not being certain which one is going to come first, whether, it's the cottages or the ALF. Irregardless of that, the improvements would be done whether one were to start earlier than the other. Those mitigation requirements are part of the ALF approval, but they encompass the entire project. So the other sidewalk component of this, which is oriented primarily to the cottages, is an extension of that, what will be new sidewalk from the right in, right out at the ALF, extending that north about another 2,700 feet to the intersection of Haviland and Tilson Avenue. That would be on the west side of the road. It would come up past the storage center. It would go underneath the overpass to get to the Mid-Hudson Bridge, and then come all the way up to Tilson, where there would be one final piece completed, which is a crosswalk across Tilson, and now you're tied into the rest of the town's sidewalk network. You can get access to the rail trail, walk down to the walkway over the Hudson area. So that will really tie in not only the project, but it'll tie in the neighborhood, the Mayor Drive neighborhood from here.
And the developer has the permission to do that and is paying for that also?
Yes, that's
Yes,
part of the
that's
DOT
part of the
permitting.
Okay, and back to the mobile, John, you said that your negotiation, how does that look, and is there any potential holdups, and if so, what does that mean?
I don't foresee any holdups. The representative for the owner has been talking to at least the manager of the mobile station, so, we're working with them at this point. I mean,
And they see it as a benefit as well.
right,
Yeah.
there's gonna be more customers walking down to their site. It's just a matter of getting the agreement together.
Attorneys.
Yes, I mean.
You guys
we've been
mess up
focused-
every deal.
We've been kind of focused on some other issues, but yes, we're working on it.
Okay, any other questions for John or Kelly?
No, thank you.
Okay, anybody else from the public that would like to speak? You come up as name, please.
Good evening. My name is Paula Fabi. I'm a resident of Lloyd. I live on Max Lane. As a lifelong resident of Ulster County, I am here to support the villages. Let's face it, our population is aging. Many of my relatives live well into their 80s and 90s. We don't like to think about it, but the reality is many of us can no longer rely on family to care for us as we approach old age. I reviewed the concept of the village in Highland and feel it is a local solution to an ever-growing senior residents problem. Our residents in Lloyd have few options. Assisted living care is in demand. Memory care locally is also lacking. Many seniors have to take whatever is available or join a waiting list that's very long. Families are forced to travel great distances to visit their loved ones. And I was just talking to a nurse tonight. They're short of help in hospitals. They're short of help everywhere. So family has to pitch in. And I support this project. I live not far from there. I know it will have some impact on the apple orchard and the look of the apple orchard, but I feel that this is a viable need for the people of our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just ask you one other question? Do you have the price point on these units? Do they have an idea what they're going to be? No. And do they have an idea of how much the percentage less for the affordable is going to be? And out of the affordable will be how many in phase one?
Well, actually, according to your affordable housing
Right.
regulations,
10%.
you have to kind of build, if you're going to phase a project, the percentage of market rate units you have to have a certain percentage of affordable housing. So you can't wait to the very end to build all the affordable housing. It's in your regulations. It kind of says that, whatever percentage of market rate, that you have to have an equal percentage of affordable housing that's required built at the same time.
Right, and they're supposed to look exactly the same. You can't tell the difference.
Correct.
Same amenities. I understand that.
Correct. The regulations also state the exterior has to be the same.
Thanks.
So as far as,
The finishes could be different. The interior finishes could be different.
Interior can be different, yes.
so is the senior citizen going to be able, they're going to rent the cottages? Am I correct?
So I think they're going to be renting the pad space. They're going to be purchasing the cottage itself.
Okay.
And they'll be renting the pad space in which the cottage sits.
So there'll be a monthly maintenance fee?
Correct.
And that includes taxes and
Correct.
cable and
Correct.
so on and so forth. So it's pretty expensive.
It's very similar to, in the town of Poughkeepsie, we have the property, I forget the name of it now. So it's a very, very similar project that's over on our Salt Point Turnpike, owned by the Reddles, where you have the same situation where the people buy the unit and then they rent the land.
Oh, Salt Point Road.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's been there for years, yeah.
Yep. Gables, yes, thank you.
Gables.
Yep.
That's the name of it.
And it's,
right?
waiting list. They're building phase 3 right now, so I'm trying to get someone in there. It's similar.
Are those modular construction, or I didn't think they were modular? I thought the gables.
Yeah, they are. Yep.
They're all
I thought they were similar to Aloha. I
They're
didn't
modular,
realize
so
that.
Yep.
Okay, if there's no other, anybody else for public hearing? If not, we're going to move on. Okay, can I get a motion to open the public hearing on local law 8, which hits the water rates?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing for local law 8 with the water rates is now open?
Sorry, I just want to confirm, you've adjourned the public hearing for the PRD
Yes.
application.
We'll leave it open right now.
Yes.
We will
okay,
leave it
I
open.
didn't catch that.
I'm sorry, we'll leave it open, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody for water rates? Okay, if not, we're going to move on. We'll leave the public hearing open throughout the rest of the night. Also, we're going to move on to reports. We'll start off with Councilman Ahmadi. You might as well do all yours, Lenny. Start with Beautification Committee.
Beautification Committee is working on some new banners that are a little bit larger to put on 9W as the seasons change. The ones that we got are about the right size for the village, but the ones on 9W, because you got 5 lanes, open lanes of traffic and 2 sets of sidewalks, they look a little small. So they're trying to get plans together for the hanging baskets for the spring. That's kind of about it for that, as far as that goes for the moment. Where am I going now? Down at the park, we have the pump station has been set up by E1. Those are the people that built it, and now it's operational. We've had a little bit of trouble with some of the circuit boards and things in there. The The interior of the bathrooms still have to be completed, but, you know, with the way the weather's been, we haven't done much outside. They had talked at the last meeting for landing about trying to get some boats to come in, because that's what they're doing in Milton and Marlboro right now. So we'll see how that all works out. Planning board, that's tomorrow night. Yeah, actually, I have nothing for that at this present time. Hudson Valley Rail Trail, I know there's nothing, unless somebody has some questions for Peter, he's here. Otherwise, that's it.
Peter, you have an update? You want to talk about the situation out there we have with the bathrooms you brought up last month?
So last month, we talked about the pavilion bathrooms and the problems going on with that. They have been locked, but again, I went there today, and the left bathroom, they busted the lock. I can't even get in. I have to drill it out to replace. And the one on the right, somebody went in and wrecked the toilet paper and whatnot. And I don't know how it's getting open because I'm locking it. So I'm going to get deadbolts and signage to put on there that they're closed for the season, at least.
So,
Okay, yeah. So the decision was made to lock them for the winter.
Right.
And to lock them a certain
so
time.
can
of
I
night.
ask you a question, Pete?
Sure.
So the bathroom lock, and I just found this out. The bathroom lock, the handle that you go down,
Yep.
if that handle is, when you lock it, you can't move it, they probably
they
can
kick
snap,
it, they
they can
do,
snap it.
yes.
But if it's one of those ones that free, you know, when you go to push it, it's like just an open the lock, the handle's just free moving, even though the door's locked, those you really can't break. So maybe if we move forward, make sure that we have the free ones on, but the deadbolt I think is a great idea also. You're not getting through that.
Well, I have to put the deadbolts now, then in the spring, replace the handles.
Yep. Good. All right, anything else on the rail trail while you're up there, Peter?
No, we met last night, and our historic signage is going to production, so
Okay.
hopefully in the spring,
Good.
we are adding 2 additional ones, so it's complete from the walkway to South Avenue, which is a sign on either end.
Right.
Each caboose gets a sign. The old lumber yard has one, and at Black Creek, there's another one.
Okay.
Hey,
Looking
Pete,
forward.
thank you for all you do and all the volunteers on the Rail Trail Committee. One quick thing, we talk about it, and before we know it's going to be spring, you had some artists that were interested.
So I have to meet with,
You know where I'm
the
going.
Studio 59 in
Okay.
town?
89.
89, yes.
Studio 89.
So, yes, she's interested. I just haven't got down to talk to her and get that rolling.
Great. I'd like to see that done.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pete.
All right.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, we're going to move on to Councilman Guerrero. You can do the ECC and the zoning board, Mike.
Okay, the ECC, there was a discussion on the Lagantano property to do some trail work with, set it up for youths to get involved and put trail markers in and a
Where's
key-
that at, Mike?
Lagantano's. There's, where the mountain.
Okay,
Ellis
I got
Mountain's
you.
got a court.
I know what you're talking
Phoenix
about now.
Hudson
Okay.
bought
Yep,
the other
got it.
side.
Thank you.
And then they talked about installing a kiosk on the Black Creek launch on 299. Talked about doing that. And that was that with the ECC. And with the ZBA, Nicholas Corday Farms LLC seeked an area variance to install a farm building in the front yard. And it would be set back a little over 1,000 feet, and that was approved. The public hearing was closed, and they're going to vote on that. I guess they had a resolution they're going to come up with.
Okay, is that it?
That's it.
Okay, we'll move to fire district and ambulance. Councilman Frano?
Okay. Yeah, the fire department had probably an average month as far as being busy. They had 34 alarms they were dispatched to. Average number of firefighters per call was 10. highest was 22. Average apparatus responses was 2.06. Number of apparatus responses, 85. Man-hours for alarms, 207. Man-hours for meetings, 50. Man-hours for training, 30. And man-hours for miscellaneous events were 342. So total hours for the hose company in December, 629 volunteer hours. And the ambulance, they had a little busier month in December. They had 197 calls. Again, the non-transport or refused transport remains about that 33% level. Their average response was 7 minutes and 16 seconds. I had a few that I looked at that seemed high, and I couldn't determine from looking at the sheet what may have caused that. So I got a hold of Will from Mobile Life. He gave me the explanations. We actually had 4 calls that the Western Lloyd team was out on a call, and they got a second call, so we had to send the ambulance from here, which adds time. And we had 2 calls just the reverse of that. The Western Lloyd team had to come because the village crew was out. But overall, they're doing a good job. They're staying busy, and we watch them closely.
When did the report come out?
It was a few days late, but I think it was normally it's out like January 4th or the 4th of the month.
All right, because I just went to get my mail Monday.
Oh, no, it was out last week.
Oh,
Yeah, it was out last week.
Doesn't it get emailed to all the board members?
well,
No.
I asked for a printed copy.
Yeah, they get
I didn't get no
copies.
email. I didn't get no email.
But
on
there
it.
was an email. I saw the email. 'Cause I was on a copy too.
Yeah.
People miss emails. John, not to put you on the spot, I don't want to answer, I just want to ask your attention because you're the liaison. So this assisted living, and I really want to talk to them, is going to have, at the end, 197 units, not counting, the cottage is not counting the assisted living. Have we brought these numbers to the ambulance corps to see how it's going to affect call times once this is built, and how it's going to affect additional cost to us, if any? Maybe it decreases or increases. And if it does increase, what does that look like? And the board may want to consider, how do we pass that price along to this project, because it's going to be using the ambulance? And from what I understand, they're not going to have their own ambulance any longer.
That's true.
So
I know you said you didn't want an answer, but I have an answer. If you wanted it. Mobile Life's very aware
Yep.
of the additional calls that will come.
Probably excited, too.
And they,
Yeah.
quite honestly, they look forward to it. And Dave and I have had discussions with them with that increased volume. We should see some relief to the town as far as what the subsidy is. What that's going to be, as we get into it, as the places that are being
Yeah,
built and populated, we'll know better.
what I was curious is, for that type of residence, I'm sure they have data on how many calls per unit of the cottage versus the assisted living, and then what is the impact and how does it affect our response time? So if at 197 units, it's going to increase 10 calls a day, I'm sure, or 5 calls a day, or is it 50 calls a day? And that's what I'm really more
When we
curious.
had the discussion with them, they felt they had the capacity to handle that.
Yeah,
Okay?
I'm
The benefit to us as a town is the more calls they go up, but we know what the number is. John and I mapped out the number of how many calls it should take before that subsidy goes down. Because if you remember, the reason we were told it was going up is because the call volume dropped, and it did. It dropped about 500 calls a year, which means the transports dropped 70% of that, which is 350, which is where they actually make their money on the transport. So if you remember when the villages initially came forward, they were going to have a dedicated ambulance. And we actually requested them not to do that because we would rather have our team, our Global Life, or Global, what's the name of it?
Mobile Life.
Mobile Life, I always get it, I call it Global, it's Mobile Life, service that, increase the volume of calls, and make the subsidy less for the entire town. So it made good business sense to do that, and we've already mapped out the numbers it would take to get there.
So they gave you the concrete data on how many of the cottages, each cottage, which is going to generate per calls per month.
No, they didn't give
So they
us
didn't give
that.
So we're speculating, I get it.
We're not
the impact.
speculating, Joe. They can handle the volume. They know there's 197 cottages and then 119 ALF beds.
ALF beds.
And they feel they can handle the capacity. And when they do that, they have to stay within their contracted time limit for turnaround. So it's all part of the contract, and I hope we get to them volumes and have that problem.
Okay. You want lighting while
Yes,
I'm rolling?
please. Yeah, please.
Okay. Fortunately, with the milder weather, we were able to put in the 3 additional lights in Bridgeview, and we pretty much filled the gap on the dark spots. We did have one extra light that we ordered just in case, and on Troy, we realized that they're still on the right-hand side. If you go into Troy, it's a dark area. So if the weather holds up, we might be able to get that last light in at Bridgeview maybe in the next week or so. Again, I want to thank the Highway Department, the Water Department. They installed the lights and the electricians connected it. So Richie, for your crew, thank you. And
Thanks, Rich.
Central Hudson was very quick. They connected about a week after I submitted the paperwork, and we had the lights turned on. And I understand the Bridgeview Homeowners Association had a meeting earlier this month, and for the most part, there's a couple of people that prefer darkness, but for the most part, they were very, very positive about the light and are happy with the lights. Thank you.
Any other lights problems, John? Are we good?
I'm going to, the Bancardi parking lot.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a
I
little
know
bit.
we're going to talk about that. I think something needs to be done. It's pretty dark back there.
I agree. Okay, Joe Mazzetti on the Highland School District, Councilman Mazzetti.
Thank you. Kindergarten registration for the 23-24 school year is now open. I know all of our parents are excited. Parents and guardians of incoming kindergarten students may go to the Highland High School main office on weekdays between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. From now through April. You can pick up a packet, and if you can't make it those hours, you can call the district office, and they'll make arrangements to get you a packet another way. Middle School Science Club, this is pretty neat, is working with Vassar. They're hosting a night at the observatory. It's going to be Wednesday, February 1st from 7 to 9. Attendees will look at the night sky and stars and planets and kind of a roadmap of the skyline. Students and parents are welcome. Parents can bring additional family members are also welcome to come. The suggested donation, you don't have to donate anything, is $1 per person. All proceeds are going to go to the Science Club activities moving forward throughout the school year. So great experience and great way for donating something
When
to the
is that,
Science
Jim?
Club. It's going to be Wednesday, February 1st at the Vassar College Observatory. So don't go to high school because it's not going to be there. It's going to be at Vassar. Yeah, look at that. You go to the observatory. You're going to be at the wrong place from 7 to 9. This is really neat. I think that Peter liked this because he was referring to, I think, Studio 54 instead of Studio. The Highland Music Industry Exploration class at the high school will be hosting a 1970s theme rock concert in the Highland High School auditorium. They're going to have some professional performers playing there. It's going to be on Thursday, January 19th, starting at 7 p.m. of course, besides some professional, it's going to really focus on the real stars, which is our band, chorus, and jazz assembly. The cost is $10 for prepaid tickets and $15 at the door. If you'd like to purchase a ticket, you can go to the website, and they're there to buy.
Tomorrow.
January 19th is tomorrow, yeah. Wow, time
Yeah,
flies.
it's tomorrow night. I
Yeah.
saw it advertised.
So, I didn't write this down. Senior parents, if you're listening, and you want to do dedication to your child in the yearbook, or a grandparent, or even somebody wants to do a dedication to a child they know, you can also go on the website, and it's pretty easy. I did my daughter's that way, and there's a little app, and it takes your credit card, and it just does it automatically. So that's also on the district website. This, I think, is really important. I really think our new high school principal, Mr. Murphy, is doing an outstanding job. We're very fortunate to have him. He had an assembly called Hang Up and Drive. Guest speakers came in and talked about the dangers of using your cell phone during driving. Some of these people lost loved ones or were crippled, and they talked about the tragedies they endured from a person that was texting and driving. They also gave students preventive measures, such as putting their devices away in the car's glove box, enabling their smartphones to do not disturb, featuring or relying on passengers to do the text messages and give directions. So I think that that's a really worthwhile thing, and I'm really glad to see that happened. Regents Week is Tuesday, January 24th to January 27th. It is a winter's Regents Week, so what that means is that any student that did not successfully complete a Regents has that opportunity to retake it. So if you're a senior and you need a Regents, now's the time to take it, so you're not scrambling at the end of the year, and graduation's depending on it. It's also for students that are taking a half-year class. Some schools, their 11th grade ELA students take the ELA Regents now, so they have a second shot at it in the spring. So that's happening at this time, and January 30th is a half-day for students. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. As far as the building department, police, there's no new activity that I need to report on tonight. I mean, Jim did a bunch of promotions and moved people around tonight, so I think that's all positive for our police force, and continue to move forward with that. Old business, going to start off with Cardi parking lot and right away, and I know John brought up about the lighting, but I think it was back in September or October, we had a public comment on all the potholes entering that parking lot. And we weren't sure at the time what the right-of-way agreement was there. So Sean has found I know Sean's on the phone there, he found the right-of-way agreement. We do have a 12-foot right-of-way, going into that parking lot. So the maintenance agreement, there was no maintenance agreement, so it was silent. So the fact that we have the right-of-way, we can fix those potholes, in the spring or whenever you can put that on the schedule, Rich. I think it's important. And then I think, so I think that'll help the one issue that was brought up in the meeting. We can maintain that right away. And then we should look at that whole parking lot as part of an improvement plan, maybe the town board can start focusing on, because as John said, it is not well lighted. It is rough as far as the parking lot itself. And if we can, work on a plan and then try and get a grant or find money to fix it, I think it would be worthwhile. The other thing I think we need there, my own personal opinion, is regular signs that let people know that's actual parking lot. Because if you know how the global signs, when you go to another town, you know right away where parking is, because they have that peace sign and I think it's the blue sign. Right, is it blue? So I think that'll help. So I'd like to start working on a plan to do some improvements to that parking lot. I think it'll be a help. So whoever wants to get involved and work with me on that, I welcome the help. Anything else on that?
Yeah, I just have a quick question, Chief. And I know that in the past we were having issues with people parking trailers and abandoning cars and just leaving them there as if it was their own rented spot. Are we still experiencing that, or we're not having those issues any longer?
I haven't got any complaints on it so far. I know we're working on a plan to,
It's the hot dog truck.
later there.
It's the hot dog truck. I haven't seen it.
Okay, thanks. No, I think it's a great idea, Dave, to do that.
Okay, the other old business, and we've been talking about that, we have kicked off the visioning work for the comp plan. We've got a lot of traction so far. I hope everybody's seen the notices we've put out. We're trying to get as much public input as we can possibly get. If you go to our town website, there's a link to a survey. The survey questions are, I think they're pretty broad, and I think they're, you get to rate things, you get to put in comments. So we're trying to get as much public input as we can, and if we get 100 or more people to take the survey, it'll be statistically significant enough to use.
Dave, just quick, we don't have a Facebook page, correct?
We do have a Facebook page.
Do we have it on our Facebook page?
It's out there too, yeah. Yeah, we post a lot of stuff on the Facebook page. So it's Town of Lloyd Facebook.
And Chief, you have a Facebook page. Could we maybe share it with his Facebook page, and maybe that we can get people to do the survey
We
that way?
share stuff back and forth all the time. Yep.
So you can do the survey from the Facebook page?
You can do the survey. It's posted on our Facebook page. It's posted on our town website.
Town-wide, it's a good survey.
Yeah,
I don't know who developed the survey. It's a very good
It
survey.
was developed by LaBerge, and the Burge, our comp committee, and the rest of us on that committee.
And I like the ranking of like what's important to you.
Right. So it's
Very good.
it's not like a multiple choice thing. You can rank stuff, you can put in comments. I would urge everybody to go give their input, because, you do these things, a lot of people say, well, you're not getting any input, you're not listening. This way we get all the input. Once we get it, we can do the data analysis on it. We can start sorting it and plotting it.
And how many people have taken it so far?
What's that?
Is it,
I don't have the numbers yet. We just opened it this week.
And when is it closing?
It won't close until the first week of February, I believe. And then Monday, we have the public input session at 7 p.m. at the firehouse. And we've also advertised that both on the website, on the bulletin boards, and on our Facebook page. So we hope to get a decent turnout for that. That will be coordinated by the project manager from LaBerge, who's been working with us. And we have some invitation-only roundtables with different stakeholders Monday at 1 and 3, different groups. So we're moving along on it. The key to me is this is the visioning phase we're in. We plan on closing the visioning phase by the end of March, but I think it's well overdue. It's something that we said as a town board we would do, and we're often started on that. And and I'm sure we'll run into some roadblocks and some decisions we have to make, but the whole process is going to take 12 to 15 months. That's what a comp plan takes, but it'll be a total, it'll be a update of the current one that hasn't been updated since 2013. And part of coming out of this plan, one of my objectives is to get a management system, so we can manage and track how well we're doing against the plan, because that hasn't been done before in our comp plan. It's supposed to be, but it hasn't, so we have to think about that. So I don't know if there's any other questions on the comp plan or how we're moving forward with that. I think it's real positive news. The other positive news on that, I'll move on to new business, is now we can pay for the work, because we did get the CFA Smart Growth Grant for $41,090. If you remember, back in September, October of last year, we got the Greenway grant for $10,000. That covered that with our match, which was 50%, covered the visioning phase. And then this other $41,000 with a 10% match will cover the rest of the work for the comp plan. So overall, the comp plan will end up costing about, I want to say right around $65,000 to $70,000. I have the budget on my desk. But of that, $51,000 of it will be covered by grants. So I think it's, it's pretty good news for the town. Okay? The other thing that's not on here for new business, but I wanted to bring it up, Lenny and I met with a gentleman later today who's out of West Point, actually, and he lives in Marlboro, but he does kayak tours. And he's requesting whether he needs a mercantile permit, we'll have to figure that out, or whatever. But he would like to do kayak tours out of Shepherd's Landing, or down by the river. So we had a discussion with him. He was positive. He gives these tours. He's insured. Lenny and I thought it was a decent idea. We did want to kick it around to the board, just so you guys are all aware of it and could get your input. And when he comes back with what he wants to do, we can then decide what we do. But I think it's a positive story. We talked about trying to get some cruise ships into there, and I think kayak tours is just another thing we can add to that, that experience. So I don't know if anybody's thought about it. Anybody has any thoughts on it?
No, the only thing that comes to mind, I'm sure he's insured,
Yes.
but God forbid there's an incident, or there's always a lawsuit, and we know the town will be named.
I think that's something we have to talk to Sean about, is what's the amount of insurance he has to have to absorb that. And I'm going to have to talk to our insurance company also about that. The only thing I'm concerned about, questions, I think it's, listen, anything that involves our townspeople to be able to do something, I think is great. And I like the idea that it's something different and exposes our people to our beautiful area that they may not see in one way or another. But that he'd be charging people for the tours?
He would be charging for the tours, absolutely.
And he would be using our space. Would he be paying us a fee for our space and leaving anything
We have
out?
to talk about the contract with it.
Yeah.
We have to talk about the contract with him. I think the mercantile license also does that.
And people use they kayak down there all the time. They use the
Right.
ramps
People
all the
use it to go.
time.
Yeah, but is he setting a booth up? Is he leaving the kayaks there? Is he going to have a trailer?
I know, he has a trail. You could answer that, Lynn.
They'll come and go.
Yeah, they come and go.
They'll come and
But we charge for the bicycle. Don't we charge for that mobile bicycle?
But he was stationed there, so, yeah, there's lots of little things you're going
We'll have to look
at.
into that and get the contract. The other aspect, yeah, and Lenny told him where he'd have to park the trailer, and he would only have one session right now a weekend. So it'd be a one-hour session. But as we talked to him, and it was pretty interesting, we thought, we also want him to talk to Frank, because we thought that might be also a good thing to add to our rec program up at Berry Ann Park. Because this guy had all the knowledge in the world about kayaking. He does these tours down in, where do you tell us, Lenny? All over, but a lot down in Orange County.
Yeah.
And we're always looking for stuff when we get people in summer fun, and he does training classes. So that's another thing we might be able to.
So I think they did kayak tours off in 299 right around in there. But one other thing, one concern, and it might not be anything, is what does that look like when the tour is going on? Is it a car that's just attached to the roof, or is it a car that needs a trailer? And how many people would attend, and what does it look like to parking? And now does that affect, here's somebody making money off of, let me just finish the thought. Here's somebody making money off of our space, and now people in our community aren't able to go and sit because they can't get a parking spot, because there's not a lot of spots down there.
All right, but we've already had that discussion with him. If he brings his trailer down, he has to park it on the railroad track side of the train. And any of the people that came to kayak with him, they need to park on that side of the road.
Okay, so the people that are attending these classes can't park in the parking lot.
If he had a storefront in town and ran out of a storefront, you can't, he can just go down there. He doesn't even need your permission.
Just to go kayaking on his own, correct?
Or if he organizes a group at his
That's correct.
storefront, and he goes, okay, we'll meet at 10 o'clock,
Like-
and charges them.
It's just like people launching boats. They're
Absolutely.
allowed to do it anytime.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that he came forward to us, he wants to do some analysis, figure out, and then we'll figure out between what he brings us and Sean, how to get a contract in place to do it. I think it's positive, and, you know, we've got this park, we pay maintenance for this park, it's a nice park, and I think the more activity we can get out of it, the better it is overall for the
Right.
town.
And I just want to back up, and Wendy, I think it's a great idea. I'm not saying it's not. I love the idea. I said that. Things that allow our community members to experience more, see our community in a different way. I think this is, but I just, need to, we need to be cognizant of what's the impacts, because what's going to happen is once we do this, and if they're all parked in the landing, you're going to get community residents that, I can't park here. You guys allowed this to happen. And that's what I'm just saying, let's just be aware of it.
It's like anything, you have to control it. Just like if 20
Right, you
people
have to
go there at
manage
once, you have the same issue. So Lenny has designated where they would have to park, and I think we've already thought through that one. But, let's bring the contract, let's try it, and I'm sure, if we agree and have a contract with him, as we go through it, if we have problems, we'll adjust to those problems. I would rather look for ways to do it than look for ways to not.
Exactly.
And I think we should do it. I just think we just need to be mindful of look at everything we need to make sure is in place to do it, so that it doesn't
And
come back.
I like the rec program idea. I think that could be really great.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, because we're always looking for different things to add, either to summer fun, and he said he has taught classes, children as young as 5 and 6, with parental guidance and everything. And I think that would be something that, it might be a possibility. He was positive, but he didn't.
The tweener age would be nice, because
Yeah.
we really offer too much for them right now.
Yeah, and he didn't push me away when I said that, so I think there's some
Could
possibility.
even do that at Berry Ann Park.
Yeah, at Berry Ann Park, yeah, that's what we talked about doing it, Mike, because you already have the kids up there anyway, right?
And they
The
kayak,
river-
they
for
kayak in the
beginners,
back
the
anyway.
river
They're
could be a
kayaking the
little
other
rough.
side.
No, not at all, not at all, Mike.
No, I think it's a great, I think it's a great
That's a bad
idea.
visual.
And I think we should support them and have it done. We just need to make sure we have our
Okay,
ducks in
so
order.
we'll move forward with that. As we get more info, we'll bring it forward. Okay, I'm going to open up the privilege of the floor. If anybody's here with, that would like to speak, now's the time. Yes, hi. You've been waiting there patiently, so. Yeah, you have, just give us your name, please, and. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Farone. I reside at 18 Emerson Terrace in the Mountainside Woods development.
Yep.
I have lived there for 5 years now, and I'm married and a mother of 2 young children. I come here this evening to express 2 concerns. My first concern is that our school buses will not travel on the roads within my development to drop off or pick up my children for school. Instead, we've been told to wait at a busy traffic circle. So it's the circle when you first enter our development that encompasses
Off of
Vista,
Vista.
Alex,
Yep.
and really, in essence, Emerson Court once the bus goes around. As for our school bus, God bless him, but he doesn't always arrive at the same time every morning or every afternoon. It can vary by 30 minutes. I have 2 small children, and the weather plays a major role, especially this time of year. And so I am forced to really drive them from my residence to that traffic circle, and then park my vehicle on the connecting streets to that traffic circle, ironically underneath signs that read "no parking, no stopping, no standing." I apologize, Chief. Along with other families in my development. So you can imagine, other families leaving for work from Alex Court, shooting around that circle, and in essence, we're in their way. My second concern is that our town snowplows will not come around and plow or salt our streets during a snowstorm. So far, we've been very lucky this coming winter with no major snowstorms yet. But in the 5 years that I have resided there, we have struggled to actually get out of our own driveway and drive through our own development, with a significant difference once you reach Vista and Tilson.
So-
Now, to my understanding, I'm aware our streets, Emerson, Alex, Asher, have not been dedicated
Correct.
To the town by the builder and are still considered private roads. Gentlemen, I've left messages for several of you, Mr. Plavchek.
We've actually done some analysis prior on it, right?
Okay, exactly. I've spoken with Kathy Merkulik, the head of the transportation company, and of course, David Weinberg, our builder, who's here this evening. with all due respect, everyone gives me a different reason as to why our roads have yet to be dedicated. So I'm here this evening to see how we can ultimately unite as a team for the safety of our children as well as our families. I even witnessed one evening the late high school bus driver drop a child off next door to me. And that was simply because he was doing the right thing. It was dark out, and that child actually lives on Asher Way.
Right.
So you can see how he really went out of his way. He did the, what he felt to be the right thing to keep the safety of that child.
Don't turn him in, because I don't think he's
No, I'm
allowed
not
to do
going
that.
to. No, absolutely not. As you know, our development brings in a significant amount of tax revenue. It doesn't itemize it for the school taxes, over $7,000, but I'm sure transportation is included in that. And yet I feel as though I'm not receiving the same services as other developments are receiving in this town. For me, our children and their safety is what's priceless. And I ask you to think of my children as if they were your own, standing in the middle of a traffic circle, and protect them, figuring out a solution to make these roads as public and as safe as possible. I feel as though there has to be a way to cut through some of this red tape for all of us living there. I have been very patient. I have lived there for 5 years now, waiting for a school bus, waiting for a snowplow, and I feel it's unreasonable to have me wait for a 6th year. Tonight, I'm also submitting a petition of 40 Mountainside Woods signatures of neighbors that this is also severely affecting. And I thank you for your time and assistance addressing this matter.
I just like to comment, my heart goes out to you guys, and you guys came here before, and, I apologize because it was quite some time ago, and if that should have been resolved, and now I'm hearing you 5 years, and they're not being plowed. And, we were told that it's because it's not dedicated and the developer isn't doing so. So I'm just glad your developer's here. So could he tell us, and we have our highway department, I wish we had our building inspector, why this is happening?
Well, it's nothing to do with the building inspector, but I'll let Dave talk. But just so we go back, when you brought this forward a few months ago, I think it was beginning of school, August, because school was getting ready to start. We did go look at it, and we understand the things that have to be done to dedicate those roads. So I know at that time, and I'll let Dave talk in a minute, I know at that time we were waiting for some mapping, we were waiting for some curb cuts, and some water things to be done. So I guess the question I have first is, where are we on that punch list of things to do? And I'm sure that's what Dave could tell us.
Thank you. I'm David Weinberg. I'm representative, principal of Mountainside Woods. First of all, thank you for hearing us tonight. And I just want to express my gratitude to Lisa for organizing this petition. I get this from many of the residents that they are looking for the road to be dedicated, and in particular, the school bus issue to be resolved. So this has been an issue that's been on my plate for at least the last year in earnest. The issue has always been I needed to finish and complete all of the requirements in order to get the roads dedicated. We thought we had a pretty good handle on it about 6-8 months ago. The water department and the road department did go through an intensive look at my improvements. They did find some things that needed to be updated, improved, and we went through a series of changes to the water. I forgot what
Shut-offs.
Shut-offs. Catch basins. And so we did go through an analysis of that, made the changes in accordance with their recommendations, and it's my understanding that those have all been satisfied from a technical standpoint now. We have just recently finished the mapping of all of the road signs, the stop curbs, stop signs, no parking signs, all of that had to be then incorporated onto the final map, which
When was that done, Dave?
it's just been completed.
Okay.
Okay? We've had several sessions with Andy,
Right.
the engineer, who has gone through our list, went through it again, said, you're missing this, this, and this. We went back, and to at least my understanding, we're there.
Okay.
That map now has been submitted to Andy, and he's reviewing it.
So can I just ask a couple of questions? I'm glad you're here, and there's no pointing the finger, I just need clarity for myself. So, is any of the roads dedicated in that development?
No,
So none of them are as of right now?
that's correct.
And from what you're saying to me, what I'm hearing is that although you've lived there for 5 years, they gave you a list of things that had to be done to dedicate the road, correct?
That was about a little over a year ago.
So when you started development, you didn't know what you needed to?
Sure we did.
Okay. So you had a bunch of things that, so what's taken 5 years to have these things? You just said that just recently you had it completed, the map and the catch basins and the shut-offs. What's taken 5 years? Why weren't they the first year?
Roads are an ongoing process. We put the roads in, we put the base in, we put all the improvements in, but we can't dedicate it until we top it. And in order for me to top the road and put the final blacktop in, I can't use that road for my construction vehicles. So from a practical standpoint, it took me several years to be able to keep going down Emerson Terrace to be able to get to the other portions that were under construction.
So I get it. So as you as a homeowner, when you bought the property, you realized that you can't dedicate it because you can't black surface it. So did you make them aware and say, hey, listen, you're buying this house, but it's not going to be for several years till it's going to be dedicated. The bus can't go down because the bus won't drive down a road that's not dedicated.
Okay.
So because residents are coming to us like it's the town's fault and coming to Ritchie, the highway department, the water department, but the reality is that the road's not completed.
Okay. So again, I don't think the purpose of this was to point fingers at
I know,
anybody. Let me finish, please. Was to point fingers at anybody. I think the idea at this point is we have an issue. We have people who are in a need to have this done, and whose ever fault it may be or the circumstances, okay, there's nothing I can do about those now. Now I want...
Road surfaced now?
I'm sorry. Everything, to my knowledge, has been completed. They're ready for dedication.
Okay. So if it's all done, what do you need us to do then to get this?
Well, let me do this. I want to be part of the solution and not part of the problem here. Okay, so I will tell you, I will get a hold of Dave, I will get a hold of Andy Learn, Rich, and Adam, and we'll sit down and discuss what's left to do to dedicate the road, and we'll also discuss, there must be a bond on these.
There is.
And so there's a substantial bond on these, I believe, right?
Yes.
So the other question I'm going to have, Rich, for yourself and Adam, and I'll probably get Dave Barton involved also, is, how if everything is done or almost done, why couldn't we dedicate the roads with the bond in place until the rest of the stuff is done? And use the bond in case there's any issues.
Problem with that is the state don't recognize the bond. For me to have control of the road, it's got to be recognized by the state of New York.
Okay, but if you have the bond, use the bond to finish the work on it.
Again, I can represent to you that any of the work that Andy's going to find is maybe a stop sign is missing, or there's nothing significant. But I do have, I think it's $1.6 million bond up.
Right, which is a pretty substantial bond, so we ought to be able to use that to finish.
But what you're saying, and Dave, I hear you, but what you're saying, that's why I was asking you 5 years, but at this point, you're done. It's surfaced. Your checkoffs, every majority thing. You might be missing a stop sign. You might be missing a line. I get it. But that's stuff that can be done very quickly, a stop.
Yeah.
So if you have your check off and you're ready to go, then what do we need to do?
I will pull it together and go through the punch list with everybody. That's what we have to do. We did it 6 months ago. Look,
Stop talking about it and work on it.
yeah, we need to work on it, and we started 6 months ago. There was mapping that had to be done and some other stuff, and what Dave's telling us is that's now done. So I will get the team back together. You're welcome to join me, and we'll go through the punch list.
Okay.
You want to be
There-
part of the
there-
solution,
there
you're
was a
welcome to
clause-
join me.
There was a clause.
Dave, I'm part of the solution, I'm just saying that.
Okay, well
And I'm
then,
saying, and
let's,
if the road wasn't surfaced.
we have to go on and do the work. That's part of the
why you're getting-
checklist.
There's not an argument.
I like to add something to this.
Go ahead.
I mean, there's been a cause why this all happened.
Right.
I got that.
What had happened was that Dave was supposed to do one phase at a time. Complete phase one, go to phase two.
Agree?
So Dave didn't complete phase one, I believe, Dave. And he wanted to move on to the next
We
phase.
gave him- and we voted for that.
And we voted, we granted him permission
Okay.
to move
Yeah.
to the next phase without completing the first phase.
I understand that.
And he was.
That's all well and good.
And
So now we have a problem.
Right, and we've got to come up with a
Then we have to
solution to the
fix it.
And I
problem.
think, but what I'm saying is, and I don't want to argue it, nobody's arguing, there's no reason to get, confrontational, because that's not what this is
It's
about.
not
That's not what it's
confrontational.
about, Dave.
Joey,
Joe,
listen.
it's not confrontation, it's let's get the problem fixed.
At this last minute.
What I'm
There's
saying
some
is-
other underlying circumstances why this has happened,
But
okay?
regardless of why it happened, he's telling us that everything's done. So can we sit down with whoever needs to approve it
I
and
think I
check
just
it?
said that, Joe.
Okay. So
I
then
said I'm
we're
going to
good.
get these team together, and I'm going to go through it with them personally to make sure it's done. That's what I'm going to do, and you're welcome to join me.
Let me know when it is.
Okay. I think one of the issues is going to be, if it's possible, and again, I think it's to get a dedication to the town. I mean, I had a quick conversation with Richie before, and he said that his issue is not that things are not done. His issue is that the state needs to approve this.
I agree.
Okay? And that's what I think, at this point, may be the hangup.
But let me ask you this, if we go to the state, and I'm not sure what you know the process better than I do, Richard, you're the expert at it. Do they do what I'll say is conditional approvals of certain sections of it?
Nope.
So,
Whatever he wants to dedicate, we gotta have absolutely approval from everybody to take that.
Water
Okay.
sewer department, the whole
so,
deal.
Right.
so,
Whole 9 yards has gotta
Can I
be
say-
100%
Okay.
done.
so Rich, when I ask, so if we have this meeting and we go through everything on our end and everything's complete as you're saying it is, and then how long is the process once we say, okay, everything's good? 2 to 3 months. So it still will be 2 to 3 months from now.
Andy's got to finish reviewing it, my engineer's got to review it, then it's gotta go to Sean, then I'll send it to the state.
Right, so we can, so we start now, we're sometime in April, May, but if we don't start now, we're longer, so.
Right. So,
You've got to do a couple things first.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, just a quick question. You're saying that you anticipate they will take phase by phase? Because I am 1A, the first one that was being
What
built.
I'm saying is, it's gotta be 100% complete.
Sure, of course, I
You know what I'm
understand
saying?
that. But my concern was
A lot of
Emerson,
that money comes from the state of New York, so I
No.
don't wanna get them mad.
but I
know
also
what I
am
mean?
concerned because Emerson, if you continue past Asher into the next part of Emerson, that's a brand-new construction site.
Right.
So if they say, no, it has to be all of Emerson, then I'm looking at several
but Rich,
more.
but it's per road, so if it's a,
As per-
But we could do
But-
sections.
right, so you
You do
can
sections,
you-
right.
you wouldn't do Emerson, you're not doing Emerson, you're just doing this road, correct?
We're doing half of Emerson, but it's part of Phase 1. Emerson continues into Phase 1B, but that's a separate issue that we'll deal with.
Listen, you're the expert, it's your development, you know what, they told you what you need, I'm taking your word, so when they have the meeting, hopefully everything's complete, Richie can get his stuff, in 3 months we'll have a road, as long as everything's complete on your end.
Okay, that's what we're looking for. And
And I will take the to-do to get us together.
Hey, let me know when that meeting is.
What's that?
Take Vista.
Yeah.
Vista's mostly our road already. Right, it is. But the upper piece, which I plowed for you, because I gotta turn my truck around anyway. That's gotta be dedicated.
Right.
That little short piece going towards the new section,
to the other turnaround?
From Asher to the
Going towards
Benjamin.
Benjamin, then down around that circle, right? Then up to,
All this has to be dedicated to get that dedicated?
yeah, you got.
And is all
Gotta
that
be able to
ready?
get in and get out.
All right, that's okay. Big deal.
The ingress,
Yeah,
done first,
but
right, sure.
it's all complete,
If it's all
and it just needs now for the i's to be dotted and make sure that you guys are comfortable, and the water department, sewer department,
That's the
and,
big one.
and the highway.
And I will take the to-do to get us together. That's my role in it. And I'll make sure it gets done.
That's why we're here tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate that because I know it's double the amount of kids, as you mentioned, kindergarten registration, and I know we have a lot of little ones, so, you know, it's about 6 families right now, and it's looking to be 12 to 15 in September, so then you're
Listen,
gonna see
I hear your
probably
pain. I hear you. It's all about safety. I get it. Rich, the town, we have to abide by laws. If it's done, then we'll do. I look forward to Dave saying this meeting, be a part of it. We'll do what we have to do to push it through the process as fast as we can, but as long as everything's done. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, thank you very much.
Thanks, Lisa, and
I
Dave.
promised my fellow neighbors I'd at least give this to someone.
You can give
so-
that to Wendy.
Okay.
Okay,
Good job presenting it.
Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else for privilege of the floor? Okay, let's move on to motions and resolutions.
Wow.
We'll start with motion, letter A, motion to approve the town board minutes of January 4th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, resolution B is to authorize the payment of the vouchers as audited by the audit committee.
Motion.
Okay, that's Akmuti Frano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution C, this is to authorize the supervisor to sign the transient merchant license for Mark Christiana. This is for the hot dog truck on 299.
Motion.
Speedway.
Second then.
Okay, I got Guerrero and Mazzetti. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. We did D through H when Chief Janso was here. Resolution I is effective immediately to add John G. Rockwell III as a seasonal part-time employee, an hourly rate of $26.16 on an as-needed basis for snow hazard work at the recommendation of Richard Klotz, Highway Superintendent.
Motion.
Second.
Well, okay, I got Akmuti Frano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Okay, back up on the, we had the public hearing on the water rates.
Right.
We had no comments, so I'm going to entertain a motion to close the public hearing on water rates.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, Frano Guerrero, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Now, Resolution K, this is on the dispatcher contract. We sent it out to everybody. We can do this resolution now, or if we have to discuss it, we can wait and go in executive session. So, I don't know what you're fine, Mike?
I'm
Joe,
fine.
you saw it?
I'm good.
Fine.
Okay, everybody's fine, so let's move on then to Resolution K. Whereas on January 11th, 2023, representatives of the town of Lloyd and the town of Lloyd PBA, Association for Part-Time, Full-Time Dispatchers, affiliated, as you could read there, with the New York State Union of Police Associations, agreed into principle of a memorandum of agreement to create a 3-year successor collectively negotiated agreement effective January 1st, 2033, and terminating on December 31st, 2025, to the one which expired at the end of 2022. So whereas on January 11th, 2023, the members of the PBA bargaining unit and the town, the unit ratified on the January 1st to December 2025 MOA between the PBA and the town board ratification and approval of the memorandum is required. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board hereby ratifies and approves the January 1st, 2023 to December 2025 MOA, and that the town of PBA and hereby appropriate those monies necessary to fund the parties' collectively negotiated agreement. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Akmuti, can I get a second? Guerrero, you want to take a roll call, Wendy?
Yeah, Frano? Plavcheck,
Yes.
Akmoody,
Yes.
Guerrero,
Yes.
Mazzetti.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, we're going to move on to Resolution L. And this is on the water rates, and I won't read it all, but what this has done, basically, we're changing one rate, which is the request for final reading. And the way we've done it is we've moved all the rates into a rate table to make it easier to manage in the future, so we don't have to go through the law. So the way the law is written is basically to say that it's going to be in the rate table. So I'll read, you can read most of this. I'll kind of summarize the resolution. So the regular meeting held today, January 18th. The following local law J to amend the code of the Town of Lloyd 98 Water, Article 3. You can see the sections there. To provide the rates charged may be set by a resolution of the town board. So it's the town board who will, validate the rates every year and check and make adjustments as needed. So whereas within the local law, it's a type 2 action pursuant to the seeker and is exempt from further proceedings under such acts. Whereas public hearing has been held today, the 18th, at which time all interested parties were given the opportunity to be heard thereon. Now, therefore, be it resolved that local law 1 of 2023 be enacted in the form attached to Schedule A, which is in the back, as fully set forth being a local law to amend the code of Chapter 98 Water sections you could read there, and all the rates you could read the numbers. To provide the rates charged, there may be set for a resolution of the town board. So can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Moody and Frano. Going to take a roll call again, Wendy?
Frano, Plavcheck,
Yes.
Akmoody, Guerrero, Mazzetti.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, M, this is to accept the rates on the rate table. So we changed the law to be on the table, and now we have the fee schedule on of the rates. So Resolution M at tonight's town board meeting on the 18th of January, the town board of Lloyd has adopted local law 1 of 2023, which provides the rates for Chapter 98. And whereas the town board wishes to approve the rates set forth in the schedule attached and made part hereof pursuant to said local law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the rates charged per the town code sections will be set as contained in the schedule of rates that is attached. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Moody, second.
Second?
Brano. Do roll call again, Wendy?
Frano, Plavcheck,
Yes.
Akmoody, Guerrero, Mazzetti.
Yes.
N is just, it was a holding spot, so
Okay.
it's
Yeah,
the rate
and that
schedule
is the rate
system.
table.
Yeah.
It's in there.
So we're not voting on N, correct?
What's that?
So the N is just displaying, it's just an example of the table?
Yeah. It was actually, if you,
So should O then become N, or is that okay?
yes. Yeah, that's just it was contained in the verbiage of that was the rate table it was referring to. So, yeah, O will then become N, Joe, as you can. Okay, and I won't read this whole resolution either, but.
You're really not going to read us the whole resolution?
Yeah, you want to read it for us?
There you go.
Okay, let me explain what this is. If you remember, we got a $500,000 grant from, it's not really a grant, it was ARPA money or COVID relief funds that the county had that they were giving out to municipalities who could qualify for it. So we got a $500,000 award that we're going to use towards the water tank that we're starting construction on in the spring. So what this is this resolution is for me to be able to sign the intermunicipal agreement with the county, which Sean has reviewed and says it's okay to sign. So this resolution, and I'll read through it a bit, but again, at tonight's regular meeting on the 18th, the town of Lloyd, as commissioner of the water district, has previously approved the water storage tank replacement. We've awarded a contract for $2.52 million. Whereas the American Rescue Plan Act was signed into law on March 11, 2021, establishing the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery fund to provide vital federal support to local economies. Whereas the County of Ulster, as one of the recipients, is authorized to issue subawards to carry out a portion of administration. So the county desires to utilize a portion of these, including awarding funds to the town of Lloyd for the purpose of replacing the water storage tank on Reservoir Road, where the county desires to issue the subaward to the town of Lloyd to assist with this replacement of the water tank. Whereas the county has agreed to engage the town of Lloyd, and the town of Lloyd has agreed to contract with the county to administer the subaward in the amount of $500,000 for the purpose of assisting and funding the replacing of the water storage tank. Pursuant to the said project, the town of Lloyd, in accordance with the terms and agreement, sewer and water infrastructure subaward for the town of Lloyd through the American Rescue Act. Now therefore be it resolved that the sewer and water infrastructure subaward agreement for the town of Lloyd can be signed by the supervisor as authorized in the agreement. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, Akmundi Guerrero. Wendy, do another roll call, please.
Frano?
Yes.
Plavchek?
Yes.
Akmoody?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Mazzetti?
Okay, motion carried. Okay, we had the executive session here in case we wanted to talk about the dispatcher contract, so I don't think it's.
And then that's just a copy of the local law
Yeah,
for the
that's a
water
copy of
rates.
the local law for the water. Anything else? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Oh, a motion to go in executive session, you said. Are we going?
What's that?
You said you wanted to go in executive session?
No,
you don't?
no.
Okay.
We had that there as a
All right,
placeholder in case we had to discuss the dispatcher contract. But we decided not to do that. So I get a motion from, I think it was Akmundi and Guerrero to adjourn. All in favor?
All right.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.